started. It is December 2nd, 2025. This is our 7 p.m. board meeting. We're going to begin by indicating who's here. Julie, will you start?
Julie Jackson. Kim Chandler.
Connie Burgess.
Chris Wynn.
Karen Winder.
Clark Nelson.
Todd Albert.
Ben Worsley.
And Nicole McDermott. I'd like to recognize anybody visiting from our PTA today. If you'll stand and introduce yourselves.
Liz Schaller, Region Co-Chair. Amy Warren, Regional Council President.
Thanks for being here, you guys. GEA? Oh. Thanks for being here. Granite Office Professionals. Thank you for being here. Middle Managers. GESPA. Granite Education Foundation. I don't think I saw anybody. And elected officials. And any administrators. Thank you for being here, you guys. We appreciate all you do. All right, we're going to go ahead and invite up Daryl Kirby, who is going to lead us in the pledge.
Okay, ready? Okay, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We are going to turn the time over. Who do I turn the time over to? Principal, John Paul. Sorry, Principal Sorensen, will you please come up and introduce your amazing Rocketeers?
And I think we have a number of students joining with us tonight. Is that accurate?
A fairly large number of students.
All right.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and excuse ourselves off the dais here.
That might be wise. Yeah. Give you a moment. Excellent. Well, I'll go ahead and talk while they're filing in. It'll take them just a moment to get set. I am super proud and privileged to be able to introduce our Armstrong Rocketeers. They're from Neil Armstrong Academy. The Rocketeers are our school choir. They are a volunteer organization, and they meet before and after school and put in a lot of time every year to prepare these wonderful performances. Our Rocketeers have changed shape a little bit this year in that we have added some of our younger students to the Rocketeers. We reconfigured and no longer have sixth graders at our school, and so we've allowed some of our younger students to join the Rocketeers, and that's been fun to see some younger faces join our ranks. They'll be performing their wonderful holiday concert next Wednesday at Neil Armstrong Academy. If you're free in the evening, you're welcome to come. It's a hot ticket, though. You got to get there early if you want a good seat. But everybody's welcome to enjoy that. This is the fabulous Mrs. Debbie Kirby. She spends a huge amount of time directing the Rocketeers and selecting music, and she has put many, many years into this. Now, I'm super excited to be here. As a little-known fact, on the board meeting where I was appointed the principal of Neil Armstrong Academy 7 years ago, the Rocketeers also performed at that board meeting, the reverence. And so it's always very special to me when they get a chance to come here. And so we proudly present the Armstrong Rocketeers.
Absolutely. Usually about 7.
Are we going home to Roxanne? Oh, yeah. Well, we're gonna look at the lights. I'm gonna look at the
What a great way to start off the holiday season, right?
It's the best.
All right, thanks Armstrong Rocketeers. Anybody who's still? We're gonna go ahead and move on to our good news minute, and we'll start with Julie, if that's okay.
A couple of nights ago, I got to speak to the Weeblos in my community about their communications badge as an elected official. And I walked in, and there were kids representing 4 of my different schools. And when I walked in, they all said, "Oh my gosh, it's the hat lady!" And they all knew who I was. And it was just this moment of feeling like this is very personal, what we do. And that you do all this stuff, you sit in this board chair or whatever, but realizing, and these kids knew how I had voted on the PAC study. They all knew, and they thanked me for my vote. I thought it was just very interesting, and also really good news to know that our kids have connections with all levels of our district. I also wanted to point to that I got to go to the final musical at Skyline's old auditorium. And when I was a little kid, I got to perform there, and I was thinking back on that time and how I feel like it looked old then and it looks old now, like the same. But how excited I am for that community, and also sad to say goodbye to the history of that place and how it served us so well. And thinking about how the money that we invest in these new facilities is going to create such new memories and traditions and opportunities for kids. And I think that's really good news.
Thanks, Julie. Kim?
It's been a short turnaround from our last board meeting to this one with a holiday in between, so I haven't been to a ton, but I did want to mention PLC meeting at Westlake Junior High that the math teachers over there were gracious enough to let me join. I think maybe it was a little weird for them just having me sitting in there quietly just listening to them talk, but I told them to pretend I wasn't there, ignore me. I just wanted to see how it worked, and they are a great group who clearly collaborates really well, and so it was just a good experience to see how that's being run. And I believe Westlake wants to be a model for other schools, and so I think we're doing a good job there. So just wanted to share that, so thank you.
I agree. It was just a short time ago we had a board meeting, and then that holiday, hopefully everyone had a nice break. And reality hit yesterday for us. But thank you to teachers as semester ends. Thanks to all the employees, and hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas and New Year's break, that you can enjoy your families and enjoy that time, and then be ready to come back, all eager to start another semester.
All right, I have 2 things. I want to thank Principal Lindsay Weaver. She invited me over to Hillside. They had a BTS holiday performance, and it showcased each grade did a different tradition from a different culture for their holiday. And they did dance, they had singing, they had so many they made their own props. They did such a great job, and it was just fun that they all participated, and those kids were just grinning and so excited. And getting the chance to perform is hard, even when you're in a first grade classroom. But yet, even the 5th graders, they loved being up there, and it was well attended. It was packed by parents, and it was a lot of fun. And I also attended the Hunter High School musical, The Wizard of Oz. Nicole and I sat together, and wow, it was a great production. It was they worked so hard, and it was just so well done and so well cast. And I just thought they did such a great job performing, and I love to go to Hunter's Musical. They do such a great job, so
Karen?
The best news of the night was that 3 of my piano students were in that choir. I looked and I was like, hey, I know you, and I know you, and I know you. And so I teach piano on the side. So that was the good news minute for me tonight, is to see them enjoying the music. I was able to attend Granger High's musical, and they did The Addams Family, and they did a really, really good job. A lot of hard work. I know it sounds cliche, but man, many hours and hundreds of hours into those productions. And so I was able to go with my daughter and have a little girls' night out, and that was fun on Friday night. And then on Saturday, we went to Hunter High's production of The Wizard of Oz. We did the 2 o'clock matinee performance, which is for sensory needs. So they do one where they don't dim the lights. Families can come, and my favorite was every time the lion came out 3 rows behind me, there was a roar from a little kid, and it was actually, it made the whole show. So that was a lot of fun, and I love that families that otherwise might not be able to feel comfortable going with family, or maybe somebody with disability where they shout out. But I love that Cheristy Parks is the theater teacher there, and she does that extra performance on Saturday matinees for that very purpose, to include families that otherwise might not feel comfortable coming, and it's wonderful. Last but not least, I was able to do Thank You Thursday, and we went to Benyon Elementary and Calvin Smith Elementary, and it was fun to be able to stop into those. And in one of those classes, I turned, and there's my next door neighbor. So it was kind of a fun little surprise. I didn't realize I was going into that classroom with his teacher. So anyway, lots of good fun things around the holidays, and I also wish everyone a happy holiday winter break.
I think it would be appropriate to acknowledge that winter sports have started at our high schools and are well underway with basketball and cheer, drill, swimming, and wrestling. So in my opinion, I'm a big sports guy, so in my opinion, there's nothing greater than going to a high school for a sporting event and being part of the community. The only thing perhaps that's better than that is going to the high school to be in a classroom, or the junior high or the elementary school, and actually being in a classroom with the students, but the sports is a close second to that. So lots of fun and excitement upcoming with all of those sports. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. I think paramount to sports is also the performing arts, and I had the opportunity to go see Hunter High's musical, The Wizard of Oz, and also Cottonwoods High School's musical. They did a fantastic job, and it was fun to see all the colors and the creativity that they had with that one. And also Hunter High School, they did a great job. I was really sad that they all kind of were at the same time, and so you had to pick and choose which ones you had to go to. So, and I had the opportunity to go to Thank You Thursday. I don't get to go to those all the time because they're a little far away, and then I have to run to school. But I did get to go to the one at Calvin Smith and at Benyon Elementary, and it was a lot of fun to be able to see those teachers and the kids that I know so well. And I did want to share with you, I was going to bring it. I got a thank you turkey from a kindergarten class I've been helping out this year. I go on Monday mornings and go help them in their centers, and they did these cute little things for Thanksgiving where they did their handprint on there and painted them different colors and made a little turkey, and they gave me one just the other day, and so I appreciate that. But I appreciate being in that classroom and being able to see the great things that happen in our schools and the wonderful teaching that happens. So thank you for all that our teachers do. With that, we'll go ahead and move on. We have our recognitions next, and we're going to invite Dr. Converse up to come and introduce our holiday card contest winners, which is always another favorite that we do this time of year.
Yes, one of my very, very favorite presentations of the year. So thank you, President McDermott, Vice President Wynn, board members, superintendent, and guests. Thanks for being here. I just was counting backwards, and this is actually our 5th year of the holiday card contest. So I'll just give you a little bit of background. There are hundreds and hundreds of student submissions for this contest, and they all come flooding in. We started at the very beginning of the year and challenge our BTS teachers and our art teachers at the secondary level to engage in this theme with us for a holiday card. And this time it was winter sports theme, and so we get hundreds of submissions. We try to narrow it down a little bit, and then finally our superintendent is charged with the very, very challenging task of bringing it down to just a very few, and he always wants to include all of them, but he has to make a really, really difficult choice. So this year, we have 4 selections that were chosen as the holiday card winners. And so I'm just going to invite each one of you up, read they also have to write a bit of a submission just to talk a little bit about what their artwork represents. I'll invite you up and have you hold up a framed version of your card that we've made, and then you'll also receive 20 cards for you to share with family and friends, and then you'll shake board members' hands and then take a picture, okay? So I'm going to start with Alea, a 3rd grade student. So come on up, Alea. And if you can show the audience hold this up and I'll what you wrote. Alea wrote, can you hold it up high? Yeah, there you go. I love to make gingerbread. Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. Sorry. That's why I need help. Now, turn around to the audience so you can see. There we go. Thank you. Thanks for correcting that. That would have been bad. And what Alea wrote is, I love to make gingerbread houses. It's fun to make, and you can get the candy and can make it look like this. Happy holidays. So thank you, Alea. That looks lovely. And those go to the family afterwards. Thanks for that.
What school are you from? Elk Runs. Okay, good. Congratulations. That's really awesome.
All right, smile. 1, 2, 3.
Can we have Alea's support team stand up too and be recognized? Thanks for coming, you guys.
And Principal Wells, we also have a little pack of cards for you, Principal Wells. So, okay, we'll give those to you next. Okay, our next winner is Madeline, and she's a 5th grade student. And hold that up high so the audience can see.
Can you include what school they're from, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes. Alea was from Elk Run Elementary. Madeline is from Whittier. Okay. And Madeline wrote, I wanted my picture to show what my friends and I enjoy doing in the winter. The snowman represents us having fun together in the snow. Awesome.
Done with markers? Is that a marker? Medium? Very nice. Congratulations. Lizzie's right.
smile on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great job.
Thanks, Madeline.
Can we have her support
thanks to
team
Team
stand
Whittier.
as well? Teachers and parents and anybody who's here to support her.
Okay, our next winner is Milana, and she's a 10th grade student at Olympus High School. And Milana writes, skiing brings me back to the good old memories. It's good to remember fun parts of your life. Skiing may be risky, but it's worth taking the opportunity because you won't be able to ski all the time, and that's why I made this art piece.
Yeah, you're right. Congratulations. I thought it was incredible.
But you gotta get your picture.
Smile on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations, Milana. And finally, we have Yoselin. She's an 11th grade student at Granger High School. Now, Yoselin is a second-year winner in our 5-year. So I told her she might have a career ahead of her, and she might want to start thinking about that. Okay, so. Okay, Yoselin writes, winter sports and activities are a way for people to enjoy quality time with loved ones, as well as find a connection with their surroundings. Thanks, Yoselin.
I just want you to know, this is a really hard job. I've been into Ben's office when he's had those all laid out on the table and like, oh, that one's so cute. Oh, wait, no, that one's really cute. Oh, no, that one's cute. And I just say, can I have a copy of each one because they're all really cute. So they do an amazing job.
Thanks again, parents, Yoselin's parents. Very good. We just appreciate all of you sharing your children with us, their talent and their skill, and teachers and principals. Thank you so much for giving them these opportunities to share their artwork. And thank you, board, for honoring them in this really special way.
Thank you. Great job. We're going to go ahead and move on. I didn't see any elected officials, and we don't have any patron participation signed up, so we are going to go ahead and go on to our consent agenda. We've had these items for a few days and have been able to ask any questions that we need, so if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any comments?
Yeah, Ben, did we fix that one hire situation that said that it was hired under Twin Peaks? But
Yes,
somewhere else?
Patrick sent an email response on that right before the 5 o'clock hour.
So has it been taken out of this consent agenda?
Oh, I don't believe it has because
Okay.
it was coded incorrectly.
Yeah.
So it is a typo, so we can make that adjustment.
So if we can adjust that, there was one hire shown as a Twin Peaks para.
Yes, she's a volunteer.
Is no
and,
longer there.
We'll make that amendment. I'll send them the email to Stacy.
So I guess I move to amend that we take that out of the consent
move to
agenda.
approve with the amendment?
Of the removal of that line item on the hire report.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the amendment. Let's go ahead and vote on that one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that one carries, so we don't need to worry about the first one. All right, we're going to move on to our action. No, just kidding, our
Wait,
information
there's
item.
one more. Did we just pass the change on it, and then the whole thing passed?
No, she said, she voted to approve the consent agenda with the amendment.
Because I had one on there too. I thought we were doing them separately.
Oh.
So there was another typo on there that we read. We voted on our minutes, and our minutes had, Stacy was going to change it that reflected that it was a final vote at our last meeting, and it said first vote on our action item for the PAC reading. So,
Okay, when I read it, it said final.
did you change it? Oh, thank you. Never mind, it was changed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's already been changed. Okay, so we're good to move on?
Phew, 'cause I wouldn't have known what to do with Robert's rule on that.
Sorry. Thank you.
I wouldn't either. Just kidding. Okay, all right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our information item. We have an update on our Cottonwood High School, our 5-period model. So we're going to invite up Dr. Pitcher and Dr. Howe to give us an update on this.
It's like a table of docs down there.
Oh, that's exciting.
I don't know, it looks a little stuck up to me.
Stuck up is right. Thank you to the members of the board. This is an exciting update that we're thrilled to be able to give. This year at Cottonwood High School, there's been a pilot program that has looked to have 5-period slots during the day, which enables a couple of different options, possibly students who are going to go from 2nd period to 5th period, which means they'd actually have a 9 o'clock start and go longer into the afternoon, or potentially even doing all 5 periods during the day and earn more credits at a quicker rate. So we're about halfway through the school year, getting close to that, and we want to be able to give an update of how that's going and possible next steps. Dr. Pitcher's done a good job working with his staff to get feedback and perspective from everybody, and that's what we want to be able to share out. So Dr. Pitcher.
There we go. Thanks for letting us come tonight to be able to share this awesome experience for Cottonwood and for trusting us with the ability to take care of these wonderful students. We have nearly 125 students that are participating in the late start or 5th period combined, whether they start late or they just go through the 5th period. And we're offering a large cadre of classes, if you will. It's listed there as the AP English, the credit recovery that's taking place after school as well. And then we have filmmaking, Health 2, Jazz Ensemble, Secondary Math 3, Seminary, or Ed Release, if you will. And then also we have Stage Crew, Study Skills, and World Histories. They are taking place on both A days or B days. None of these are both A day and B day classes. So it's important to see that we have some teachers that are on an A day teaching a 5th period and others that are teaching a B day on a 5th period. We did a cursory strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, or a SWOT analysis, if you will. And so these are summaries of what our teachers have actually put in. We also open it up to our support staff as well, our secretaries, etc. And so some of the responses that you see here reflect both student input, teacher input, and then I would also say our support staff. Some of the strengths that we see is that we get a greater flexibility in the scheduling. Instead of just 4 periods a day, we can go on to 5 periods, or we can start late and go to 4-period day, etc. Or just take a normal course load, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th period, both A days and B days, so you can have up between 8 and 10 periods. We talk about improved attendance, excuse me, and engagement opportunities for students. And so with this, the late start helps students who struggle to wake up early. They can opt to come later if they choose, just as the time indicates. But then we also understand that some students would rather be done after their 4th period. And then there's others who are trying to get ahead and they take in that 5th period slot. Benefits for students, we know that health and well-being is something we care a lot about for our students. And some of our adolescents need more sleep, the studies would say. And so this is a chance for those students that get extra sleep. They may be working late at night. We know many of our students, they work to help take care of their families. And so if they're working late into the night, sometimes it's easier for them to be able to come during that 2nd period as their 1st period class of the day. We also know that it expands the academic opportunities for our students. And so students can take those additional classes. We've mentioned that a couple different times already. The thing that I really like is that we have students that are in need of credit recovery, and the after-school program provides for that, but also the 5th period provides for that as well. So some students that want to earn credit by taking a class with credit recovery can earn the credit for the class plus the additional credits to be recovered. We have a large number of students that do need credit recovery to be able to stand on the exit graduation and wave to mom and dad and say we did it. And so we can provide opportunities for them to do so. And then we have a select few that might choose to be able to graduate early, those that can get all their credits in by the end of their junior year if they were to continue to take all 3 years worth of five periods all throughout the year, they'd be able to earn the credit necessary for early graduation. There are some potential school benefits as well. We can decrease class sizes during the school day. Those that take a 5th period class typically would take it during the 1st through 4th period, and so that might help to decrease some of that class size and the load that teachers face in that opportunity. We have the ability to recruit students to our school because we do have this 5th period option. So students from outside of our boundary that may want to attend Cottonwood High School to graduate early or to take a 5th period to start later, that might be a draw for some of them. And then we can have a better distribution of students just simply across all periods as a result of this 5th period opportunity. And so there's many strengths. There are some weaknesses that have been identified as well. Low access and inequity that takes place. Many of our students at Cottonwood High School, as you know, they ride the bus. The buses come as early as nearly 6:45 in the morning, and then they leave right after 4th period ends. And so it precludes them from being able to do a late start because that's their only transportation. It also creates a challenge for them. If they want to stay late, they have to find a ride home. We have started to create a solution for that with our after-school program. Students that stay late, we have a bus that runs 2 different times after school. One near about 4:30 is when it leaves, and then the other one leaves at 5:45. It's a bus route that we've had already for our after-school program, and they've agreed to help our students that are taking this 5th period, so that's been helpful. Low enrollment and limited classes. As you saw, there's only a few classes that are being taught each day, and there's low enrollment in a lot of those classes. There might be as little as 5 or 6 students in one class, and there might be upwards of 20 or 30 in another class, depending on what day and what class it's being offered. So identifying which class to be able to offer has been a challenge, and we're working through identifying what the students want for that. And then, of course, there are some scheduling conflicts with the 5th period option. It conflicts with the after-school program. It conflicts with sports and clubs and extracurriculars. It can affect tutoring and opportunities after school that exist. One of the great challenges is the fact that many of our teachers that have served on many of our different committees and leadership teams during 5th period, they've really struggled to be able to be a part of that because they're teaching during that 5th period time when those meetings have been typically held. And so there's a need to be able to identify how do we help these teachers who have been highly engaged in years and years of education, and now they're teaching during that 5th period to provide supports for students and their programs, but now they're not able to be on those leadership teams based on the time frames when those are being held. Those meetings could possibly be held earlier in the day, or they could be held during the day or elsewhere, but we'd have to look at maybe providing substitutes and things like that for them. So there are some challenges there with the scheduling conflicts. Another challenge and weakness that happens is the idea that our support staff who come to, they welcome all of our teachers, our head secretaries, some of our finance people, et cetera, who are here to help support students. They're on a limited contractual opportunity to be in the school. And so being able to flex their schedule, it sounds like it's an easy process, but not everybody covers each other's opportunities the same. And so it's been very difficult to be able to provide additional support after the majority of our students leave for those students that choose to stay in that 5th period opportunity. And then we have operational and staffing challenges that happen. Sometimes there are some uneven class sizes that happen as a result of this, and we talked about that in that 5th period class. Not every class is carrying a full load at this point. We think it will continue to grow as we provide the opportunity, but we know that there are challenges there. It complicates our FTE, pushing teachers into that 5th period slot. Some of them, it's my understanding, were voluntary. Some of those were asked to do so, and they chose to do so because they knew it was right for kids. But it does reduce collaboration time. It does reduce the chance for some teachers to be there early enough for PLC work on the Friday, just based on their scheduling. And so there's a need to be able to work some of those pieces out. And then the student experiences, there are longer stretches in the day that the teachers reported the students were talking about. And then there's a potential for unstructured time for students that may want to come early or stay late. And being able to have proper supervision for those that come is always a challenge for us. We do have a lot of opportunities that do exist, and we'll continue with some of these. The flexible scheduling that we talked about, the later start time we talked about as well. Additional academic opportunities. I think this is really the pro of what we can provide here, additional classes for our students, but then faster credit accumulation, which ultimately leads to more students graduating more quickly, which if they choose to do so, we want to make that an available opportunity for them. And then we have increased course options, and so we can offer a health course, for example, or a credit recovery class, or whatever it might be, in that 5th period slot that normally wouldn't have been held during the school day. And then support for different student needs we've talked about, and then potential long-term benefits. And as you've read through these and seen these slides ahead of time, there are opportunities for us to be able to learn and to grow, and to be able to take the hand that we've been dealt, if you will, as we came to Cottonwood High School, to be able to learn about this opportunity that I think is a real benefit for us, but we have some challenges we get to work through. There are limited access and inequities we talked about. There are low enrollment opportunities and numbers right now. We have conflicts with sports and clubs and other activities, and then ultimately planning, scheduling, and logistical issues that really do pose a big challenge for us to be able to roll this out. One of the challenges that a lot of our teachers indicated is that they said there was very little time to be able to put this into place, to be able to go forward. And so we have done our best to be able to put it out there. We think that with a really large marketing campaign that we might be able to do a better job with our students, because if our students and our parents understand the benefits of what the 5th period provides and the late start provides, we think we'll have more traction this upcoming school year, and maybe we can double the numbers from 125 to 250, and that would be nearly 10% of our students or 20% of our students to be able to participate. And we know that there's a great need for that, especially with credit recovery. We talk about the impact on teachers, and I think the biggest impact that our teachers are feeling isn't necessarily teaching during that 5th period time, but maybe more importantly is the camaraderie that they get. When they're teaching, they're not able to be in these faculty meetings. When they're teaching 5th period, they're not able to be in their other meetings where they would normally associate with their colleagues. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have to overcome as we look at this 5th period opportunity. Student behavior, motivation, concern. We haven't had very much behavioral challenges from our students during the 5th period. Most of those that are there are choosing to be there, and because they can choose to be there, they understand that it's a privilege at this point, and we want to make it a little more standardized. And then overall, there possibly could be a limited benefit, which is related to transportation for most of our students. And so with that being said, I'll turn the time back over to Tyler.
So Justin, I think has been very effective at being able to get perspective, the strengths, the weaknesses on all facets of this. I want to emphasize something that he talked about, of that there was, a limited lead time for his team to move into this. Humorously, as I was onboarding onto this position for me, and the first time I met Justin, we actually sat down and we were giving him an overview of Cottonwood High School and some of the cool things that were coming, and this part was shared out, and that was the first time I'd heard about it as well. So we feel like we got to start that conversation together right from the beginning of the journey. I know that when I worked immediately in my first few weeks in this role with Ashley Snar over there at Cottonwood, as she was involved in the master scheduling, the view of this first year we likened to a soft start for a restaurant, and I think they've done a good job at taking it and approach that way to say, hey, we want to be able to see this model work, and we can build and grow it as we move forward and not be terribly overwhelmed by it right from the get-go. And from my perspective as a little bit of an outsider watching what you guys have done, that's been very successful in that regard, that a lot of the concerns haven't materialized terribly, and those who have been involved with it are finding a lot of the strengths, but I think what you've shared really acknowledges the strengths and weaknesses that go along with this. This slide here I want to talk about because as this was first talked about at Cottonwood High School, it was originally planned that would be the only location for it. One of the reasons to do something like this is that this is a way to market your school and attract students to the school as a very special program. Cottonwood High School is a good place for that as we want to see those numbers increase. That being said, Granger High School is currently our high school boost school. It's a school that does have plenty of needs for credit recovery or more flexibility for students to also be able to get a different schedule or credits faster during the same time period. In that regard, we are considering and wanting and talking with Jared right over there and beginning the conversations with that leadership team to say, could this be a model that could support other locations like Granger High School as our boost school, with wanting to be very careful that we would not pull students away from Cottonwood High School. And the thought and the hope would be Cottonwood High School and Granger High School are located far enough apart that geographically they don't seem to really be in competition for the same students. So that is in the early phases, but there's enough excitement on the strengths and the opportunities that have been seen and shared from Cottonwood High School that it's in discussion with Jared and Granger High School as well. That's our overview of where we're at on this pilot. We welcome questions and feedback. It's an exciting thing going on.
Could I add to the presentation really briefly? We asked them to provide this presentation. When we originally conceived of this idea, it was prior to Dr. Pitcher's hiring, and he's been wonderful and gracious to come in and take this on in the midst of being a new principal at that location. And we're grateful for all the efforts that were put into this initiative from the get-go, and including the efforts from the staff. I think we are seeing, and feel free to disagree with me, I'm asking to some degree, enough of the strengths and opportunities as being a benefit that we would like to continue to extend this pilot. The reason why we felt like this was a good option is we continue and have received an inordinate amount of pressure from the communities at large and across the United States to move back start times for our high schools. And in particular in Granite, because our funding is stretched and our resource of transportation is so finite, and it is a little bit of a tail wagging the dog situation, where in order to maximize the efficiency of those routes with the limited amount of funding and drivers that we have to line up those school start times in such a fashion that it makes it impossible to put all of our start times after 8 a.m. without a significant cost increase across the board. So this was given as a potential way to evaluate the viability of a late start option to see how many of our families would be interested in this. Again, it was more of a soft rollout. We've not been as aggressive. Again, we rolled it out a little bit late last spring, and I'm interested in what the numbers look like potentially and what you think it will look like for next year. But I am also eager to try it in a different location, because one of the greater strengths that we found, again, this is more of a question, is the benefit for some of our students to receive credit recovery or to catch up or to increase the speed of which they're able to obtain credits to graduate sooner. Could you speak to that a little bit more? Do you anticipate more participation next year? What do you see are some of the benefits for Granger in particular?
So I'd love to speak to the Granger end of it. This excited me immediately when I'd heard it at Cottonwood, and that's when I was as the principal at Granger High School. Granger High School's got a pattern going of being really intentional, looking at where kids are at every single quarter for the 16 quarter marks that they have over their 4 years in high school, and saying, all right, here's a 10th grader at the end of second quarter. Where should they be at with their credits, and where are they? And having those kinds of conversations that we can support them, not just late in the game that often is the case. So when I heard about this, and I was currently the principal at Granger High School, it did excite me a lot to say, hey, this is a wonderful avenue that's not just, hey, you're not making it here, let's get you over to Granite Connections, where similarly at Granite Connections, they have a model where they can get through credits at an accelerated rate, which is what this is offering. So to have that opportunity at a school like Granger and keep our students at our own site, I think really opens up the door for supporting more kids in a place that they're not as likely to fall through the cracks. Not that they would at another location, but sometimes the transition from one location to another is where we lose them through the cracks. So I think there's some great potentiality for that location, and already Jared's been mulling this over and looking at ways that it could work there at Granger High School. And it's very early in those discussions, but it definitely intrigues both of us.
In conversation with our school counselors, with our administrative team, with some of the teachers as well, our after-school program, the promised partnerships that we have with Greater South Salt Lake, and then also with the Mill Creek partnerships. The partnerships that are supporting our students are saying, we need to have 100% graduation rate. It's an audacious goal. It's fantastic. It's brave. It's brazen. But we believe that we can achieve 100% graduation. But if we don't provide good quality Tier 1 instruction to begin with, then that's all a moot point. But when we have quality Tier 1 instruction and students are still falling behind and not receiving the credits that they need, then we have to provide the opportunity for them to be able to recover their credits. And doing that during the normal school day isn't always the greatest of options, though we know we can graduate with more credits than necessary to be able to graduate. Providing the 5th period opportunity allows for a counselor to say, look, you want to graduate, let's take care of your normal daily processes first, and let's go back and recover credit second. And we can recover credit during the school day, but we can do it after school as well in that 5th period, which becomes a part of the regular school day. And so now the student is engaging in opportunities to be with a teacher that cares, a teacher that helps them to feel like they belong, even though they may have made mistakes early on in their educational careers, or they may have pushed off a class, they have a chance to be able to graduate, and they still have the chance to graduate. They still have the chance to graduate, and they still have the chance to graduate. Our end product is students walking, standing on the exit graduation, waving to our parents and their parents and saying, hey, we did this, and we're moving on to the next option. If we do not provide high levels of credit recovery opportunities for our students beyond just simply saying, get on Edgenuity and try it on your own, if we don't have a supportive adult with them, the likelihood of them participating in graduation is far less than if they have a caring adult to be able to help them along the way. Keeping them at the high school where they have earned credit already, they have relationships already that have been built. Those relationships are paramount for all students to be successful. And so this 5th period opportunity allows for credit recovery. I was talking to our counselors about 2 months ago, and I said, if we pull all of the data that says how many students have F grades in their core classes, the number is astounding. There was nearly 4,000 F grades just amongst the 10th and 11th and 12th grade students that we currently have in our school. And so with that many F grades, there's nearly that many credits that need to be recovered. And so we have to do a better job at ensuring our kids have a chance to be able to do that, rather than just sitting in the counselor's office where they might be engaged. They can have a teacher walking around, having proximity with them, encouraging them, give them a high five when they pass off the different modules, and just letting them know they can do this. Teachers that care about kids move kids, and we know that to be the case, and having a 5th period opportunity for them to recover credit, I think is absolutely essential for the situation that we're in currently at Cottonwood High School. I would like to get to the point to where the 5th period option is more robust in the class offerings that we're providing. I'd like it to not be the credit recovery factory for our school, but we know there's some schools that aren't providing the same kind of resources for credit recovery, so maybe that becomes a draw to come to Cottonwood High School. Maybe there's some partnership opportunities for students that attend close by elsewhere, and they could come to our school to be able to earn the credit recovery. But we want to be known as the school that graduates kids, and if that's who we become and that's who we are, then we have to provide those systems and have them in place to be successful in that. And the transportation piece, it's always going to be a challenge, but I think that there are ways through some of these promised partnerships that we're talking about to be able to encourage additional transportational opportunities for our students. There are donors out there that want kids to graduate from high school that are willing to support, and we know that to be true. And I think that these are challenges that we can overcome. When it relates to students, it's absolutely a great opportunity for them to receive the support that they need.
Questions, Clark?
Yeah, question and a comment, I guess. So this, Superintendent Horsley alluded to this theme that's even been a national theme of that it is better for high school students to start later. And all of us who've had a teenager have that painful realization that all of a sudden they hit their stride at like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, right? And so, this has been an issue clear back when Julie and I were on the district community council together, that there's been a desire to have a late start high school model. I think to offer that and to have it to be the robust model that you're suggesting that it can and should be, Dr. Pitcher, is we've got to find a way to allow our students who are involved in athletics and extracurriculars to be able to tap into that model as well. I know that's not a wave the wand kind of thing that we can figure out, But that is the biggest component of feedback that I receive from the Cottonwood community is, man, we so badly want to be part of that late start model, but we're involved in athletics, or we're involved in drama or jazz band or whatever the extracurricular might be, and we're being told we can't do it under those circumstances. We can't do both. So again, recognizing and absolutely acknowledging that we can't just wave the wand and figure that out. I think we have to find a way to figure that out. And I know that involves other schools and regions and all that comes with that. But I would love to see us make a run at that. And I think if we do, all of a sudden you'll see that class offering opportunity go from a dozen or so classes to 3 dozen, right? Or 4 dozen. And it'll become just like a regular period of the day. And I think with the Ames charter that is now under the purview of Granite School District, we have a real opportunity to be able to make that a reality. The Ames students compete on behalf of Cottonwood athletic teams, and their academic model is a 9 o'clock start time and a 5th period, the equivalent of that 5th period. Their 4th period is Cottonwood's 5th period. So I think there's a way to make it happen, and I think it will grow the numbers tremendously if we can put all our heads together and figure it out, so to speak. I may have some other comments too, but I don't want to. Yeah, I know Julie's timing me.
Yes, I am. I think Jared is exactly the right guy to do the next step of this. He was there when they moved a late start at West High and saw some of the complications surrounding that. I think he really has some good insights and can piggyback off the work you've done, Justin, which fantastic work, by the way. I'm really excited about this. I was very thrilled about this pilot. I really wanted one of my 3 high schools that I represent to be able to have some, entry into the late start world. And I really appreciate that you guys are willing to go through the struggles of being the early adopters of that. So thank you, and thanks to your staff for that as well. I think I would love to see if we can put our heads together to fix the busing problem. Because, if we see that students coming 5th period, again, is going to move the needle, it might be worth investing in. And I also see that, this is completely, to me, under the purview of the Promise program. Like, if they are serious and they are letting us drive what we believe as experts is going to help our kids, we should tell them this is what we need. I think that they would respond to that. They are incredible people who understand these kinds of, I think they'd be excited about being a part of it. I don't know what other conversations you've already had with them. Probably you have, Justin. Or can we utilize UTA passes more, or something like that we get from our foundation. But I feel like you're right. I'm just on board. I want to support that where you're saying the busing is an issue. I agree. I think that that's a major barrier. Where you were talking about the extracurriculars, see, that's an opportunity for me where you could we consider giving credit for extracurricular classes, opening up the schedule earlier. If you don't have to take PE earlier, you can put a math class in there, and your 5th period can be baseball or whatever. And I know we already have classes for a lot of our sports, but can we be creative about things like that? And can you remind me, Dr. Pitcher, do we have currently support for kids who need transportation but who want to participate in after school?
We do. There's a bus we have one bus that runs 2 routes. He goes out and back. And so it leaves at 4:30, and then another one at 5:45 after dinner is served at the school. So we're serving, if we include athletics and things on that, we're transporting close to 45 to 50 students right now.
Okay, I think I was confused because you said after-school programs, but you meant our after-school programs.
Our after-school
So it's
program.
our bus.
It is our bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
In elementary, usually it's a different group, so I was confused with that. Okay. I'm wondering also, have our teachers generally who are taking fifth period, have they taken an extra period in order to do this, or have we adjusted teacher schedules?
For the most part, we adjusted the schedule to match a 4-period day, but there are a couple that are in this, I think, the 5th period opportunity.
Okay, that's just interesting. And I love the idea of doing this at Cottonwood and at Granger, and the way that you're looking at that in terms of especially competition and a way to attract students. But I feel obligated for my community to make sure to mention that the only board member here who is hounded by their community for late start is me.
You're not the only.
Okay. And so it's just, I'm kind of asking myself, well, has anyone from Granger asked for this? And I see the academic reasons to do it, so I don't oppose Granger. I'm just saying to myself, if this community is asking for it, how come my community is going to say, why are you putting it over there? You're telling me that we can't do this district-wide because all the board members aren't hearing from it. The whole community doesn't want it. Only ours does. So I think we need to respond to that and be honest that that is what feedback we're hearing. Go ahead, Mr. Superintendent.
Okay. I want to remind everybody that this is in fact a pilot, and we are trying to work through some of the challenges and figure out exactly how we can make this as successful as possible before we push it to some other locations. So it's not that this is a low cost and frankly no new cost alternative to a late start schedule, right? So previously the methodology that Salt Lake District used cost them more money, right? The methodology that we've looked at in terms of just reversing schedules and having our elementary starter, it's a no net cost, but at the same time, do we really want elementary age kids walking to school at 7:30 in the morning, right? When it's dark outside. So there's other pros and cons. We're still trying to figure out the pros and cons of simply adding this additional 5th period. I think there are some things that we'd like to evaluate further. We're far enough along that I think we could plug in some things potentially for second semester, but I don't want to put too much on our brand new principal at the same time. So again, looking for other opportunities. I don't think when we initiated this that we saw the benefit to our at-risk kids that we've seen, and that's the only reason we're looking at Granger now. It might give us the population base.
All the data shows that the at-risk community is the community that benefits the most from a late start. So I mean, we've read the data. We do know that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe we didn't internalize it, but we did know that.
We didn't. And there's other factors we still don't know either.
Yes,
right?
I would agree with that. I want to just say also where it comes to me advocating for my community, sometimes I feel like it's a very hard thing to advocate for those 3 high schools at the same time, because sometimes it feels like by advocating for one, you're somehow not advocating for another, and I always feel pulled. So I would love to figure out how to advocate for all 3 at the same time where this is concerned. Another piece I want to say to that is my other 2 schools that don't have this that I represent, I mean, while they come and ask me for late start, I'm not sure that they realistically understand what that means, because 5th period is during all of the extracurriculars. So they have a very high percentage of kids who are involved in after-school activities. Would they actually, are they realistic about what this means? I'm not sure. And mostly I think sometimes that our kids are so overscheduled that they need that because they're overscheduled over here anyway, you know. So I'm not sure that it's a realistic want, but I felt like it was important to talk about here.
I want to be clear too, that one of the reasons we approached the Cottonwood community about this in the first place is because we wanted to provide that school in particular with a little bit of a unique opportunity and perspective that would draw families to come and support the wonderful opportunities that are available. We can continue to tout that they have more per capita AP and concurrent enrollment classes. We can talk about some of their other academic successes, but there is a perception challenge that we're faced with, and we wanted to give them a leg up to draw more families. And it's uniquely situated right next to a competing district as well. And so there were other rationale for placing it there. I don't know what this looks like long term either. If we could get universal support, I think, and overcome some of these other challenges that have been expressed, we're going to have to do that by getting more kids to participate. So is that providing an early morning, a late start bus option, and funding that transportation ourselves? These are all things that are on the table and up for consideration.
Go ahead, Karen.
I have some big concerns. So here we go. Number one, I feel like Kim and I have a pretty good grasp of things happening at Granger, so I'm super confused why a phone call wasn't made bringing us into the circle of this conversation before board meeting. I was flabbergasted as I opened up the agenda report yesterday and read this, and this is the first I've heard of it. And it's being presented. And so I was like, oh, they didn't reach out and ask us for our opinions, even though we were elected to represent that very network. I also have concerns because I feel like Granger's in a whiplash zone right now. And I'm looking at Miss Funk back there, and she's nodding her head because we all feel it. They just lost their principal, Dr. Howe. And so I feel like Jared is still trying to get his feet underneath him. At the same time, now we're bringing on the Boost program. So now we have all the ramifications of the Boost program. And that's brand new. And now we're looking to totally jack up their schedule. And so I'm just like, I'm over here going, who at Granger asked for this? And where are we with bringing them on? Have we talked to the faculty to get their opinion? I know we haven't talked to my constituents to get their opinion. The families, I mentioned this to a couple over the last 2 days after reading the agenda, and they're like, what? How would that even work? And so I don't know. I know Granger needs credit recovery, and I'm not up here saying, for the record, that we shouldn't provide those avenues. I want kids to graduate at Granger High. I want 100% of kids to graduate at Granger High. I'm just surprised that we're to this point and how we got here. I'm wondering how much change can one school handle in a short amount of time? I'm here to tell you, I have a senior at Granger, and I hear all sorts of things. And it feels like every 3 weeks she's coming home saying, guess what the new policy is? Now we only have this many bathroom passes for the year. 3 weeks later, now they're locking the bathrooms at Granger because of vaping. And then 3 weeks later, now you can't be excused for a tardy in first period, but you can be excused for an absence, which just makes kids want to skip and dip on the first period if they can't be excused for a tardy. It's all these things, and I feel like it's because Granger doesn't have the time yet to get the ground underneath their feet. So I have some big concerns.
I want to really...
Sorry, that was a mouthful.
I don't want to diminish your concerns in any way, shape, or form, but I want to own the fact that you weren't given a heads up. This was simply some speculation on our part about what might be a good fit at this point in time. We have not talked to the community because we haven't made a decision on that. We haven't even made a decision whether we're going to pursue the pilot further. So I'll own the fact that you weren't given a heads up on that. We speculated this might be a good secondary option, a location to expand the pilot to, and your feedback is noted and appreciated. I do want to also emphasize the fact that I do believe that this has been extremely popular with our families at Cottonwood. When we first discussed this and bringing it out there, and when we go out and discuss this, if we get that far with our Granger families. I think once they understand what, this isn't an adjustment to the schedule. You can continue to go to the regular schedule that you're currently participating in. This would simply be an enhancement and an additional opportunity, and I certainly believe that every board member up here wants to provide as many opportunities as we can for our students. So we will take that feedback as appropriate and work through those challenges.
Well, and I appreciate that. And here's my deal. If the Granger High community supports this and we get buy-in, then I'm all for it. What I don't want to do is go and tell them we're doing this. I want that community buy-in before we jump into something as big as this. That's what I'm saying.
I feel the same. And I mean, to validate what Karen has said and to go right along with what Superintendent's talking about is this really would need to be a conversation that builds from just where we're at right now and looking at, hey, a boost school is meant to be able to ask the school, what do you need? How can we support you? And they've done a really good job of that so far in the sense that here you have a high school that's the boost school, and unlike all the other levels, there's at least 2 junior high boost schools, there's 6 elementaries. They get to compare notes with each other quite a bit. The high school, the fact that we've identified one boost school means that they're helping to write this playbook along with us and saying, this is the area that we need some additional support. So what Karen's saying, I think she's right on, that this would be, I think, a very valuable thing to be able to offer and consider, but it's going to require how will the faculty feel about it? How will the community feel about it? I do recognize in what I've watched at Cottonwood that those who don't want to participate don't need to, and that's what's been powerful about it. So it's kind of nice to offer something that doesn't supplant something else. And that's what I have seen in this 5-period model so far, that, hey, there's some people who have no interest in being involved in any part of this, and they can go about their school just like they did before it was added on. So there is something from my perspective about offerings that aren't supplanting but only adding on to what's already there.
Just thank you, Karen, for raising those concerns. I appreciate that. I think we're trying to say the right thing. I just want to make sure it's clear, because perhaps a slip of the tongue, but one of the things you just said a minute ago was that we haven't engaged the community because we haven't made a decision yet. And it has to be before a decision is made. So that's, just want to make sure. I think that was just a slip of words there. But another one of my concerns, which you kind of have answered, I just want to confirm, was cost. And you said it was minimal cost or no cost. So just want to confirm, is it no cost or is it minimal cost? And if it's minimal, what is that cost to us for whatever extra buses we have to bring in, or if any teachers are extending their workday, anything like that?
The intent is that teachers already can sell their prep period for additional income. So it's comparable to that. They're just adding an additional period that we would compensate them for otherwise.
And we're not giving the school additional FTE. So the school gets its a FTE allotment, and then if a teacher works 5 periods, then they would get their FTE. It would all come out of the same FTE bucket.
Additionally, we were already paying for an activities bus in the afternoon. So to Dr. Pitcher's point, we have not paid for an additional late bus to come for those kids who are on that late schedule, which has probably diminished the amount of participation that some kids can have, and why so many kids are probably utilizing it as a credit recovery or an additional 5th period as opposed to simply coming later. If they don't have a car to get themselves there at the 9 o'clock hour instead of 7:30, they're going to have to get on that bus.
And to that point, if we are trying to expand the program and increase enrollment, because we're saying it's popular on the one hand, on the other hand, we're also saying very few students sign up. If we're trying to increase enrollment by providing a bus or by doing these other things that are going to then increase the cost, I would like to know that and what that is. So.
Could I just add on to that piece as well? I think you bring up an excellent point. I think one of the reasons we liked the consideration of taking this to a school like Granger is many of those students are either walking or have the ability to come at a later start time as a neighborhood walkable school, as opposed to Granger's boundary, Cottonwood's boundary, which extends all the way to South Salt Lake. So there have been some barriers, as it were, to participation as a result of that. So we're looking for something that has a good mix of all these opportunities. And when I spoke to that earlier, I'm saying, when I said we had not made a decision, I meant to extend that to, we have not made a decision whether to expand the pilot or not in a respective community. So I apologize for misspeaking.
All right. I have 2 questions. One is, you said that transportation's the issue. Is this students who wanted to participate but like expressed that they didn't have transportation, and so that's why that's an issue? So that's my first question, is how do you know how many want to participate and maybe didn't because of transportation? And then my other question is about the course offerings. Were these decided by need or just maybe student interest, or tell me how you came up with these course offerings?
So the offerings were created before I came. I don't know the storyline behind that, but we do have counselors that have reported that students said, I would like to do this 5th period, but I don't have a way to stay late. And so through the counselors who are working on credit recovery opportunities, they've reported back on a weekly, we meet weekly with them, and they've reported back saying, we have some students that would like to do it, they just need to go home because their only transportation to South Salt Lake is on a school bus.
The periods that are listed here, the reason those were chosen is because those are the classes kids signed up for and when it would fit best for kids. It's always a balance in building a master schedule in high school. Always begins with, this is what the kids want. Now let's put it on the calendar, on the schedule when we can fit it in. And the variable here is, well, these are the kids that want these classes, and we have to match them with the kids that want this 5th period. So it was all about student.
More student
100%
wanting instead of like, this is the teachers that say they want to teach at this time frame or whatever.
It might be a component of that, but
Okay.
it's all about, well, this is the best way to fit all the kids' schedules in that want this.
Okay, thank you.
I know, I'll, just because I know one of the teachers, a couple of the teachers, like, they mentioned that it fits really well with the Ames, and so some of those programs that draw some of the Ames kids, that because it's after the Ames or it's their 5th period for the Ames, it fits really well with that schedule, and so it's actually become a better opportunity for them to be able to participate in some of these classes. I'm speaking specifically to the jazz ensemble. I know that was a big one, but also even maybe filmmaking and some of the other ones that are in there. Because the Ames schedule is later. So I know that's a bonus that Cottonwood has, that Granger, that they don't have that automatic, filling there, but I know that at least was part of that reason for some of those. Is there any other comments, questions? All right. Thank you for their presentation. Certainly did give us something to think about, and we'll continue to look at this.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to our calendar general survey. This is an action item. We're going to invite Luke up. He is brand new with this. And Jen, are you joining him? And Jen's coming up too.
I would like to make note that she's not wearing pink, she's wearing red because she's a huge Utah fan. Is that right?
I love Christmas.
Dang it. Hope it's on the calendar.
All right, good evening, board. As has been noted, this is a new responsibility for our Communications and Community Outreach Department. So Jen and I are very excited to be here to present our survey results from our general calendar preference survey and present the 2 draft proposed calendar options that were put together by the calendar committee. So as we do every fall, we sent out our calendar preference survey to all of our district patrons. It was available in English and Spanish. The survey was open from September 25th until October 14th. We advertised the survey through several direct emails, through website content, and through several social media posts. And we were excited that we were able to get just over 7,000 responses this year, which was about 3,000 more than last year, which was great to see. And then Jen and I presented the same data that I'll present over the next few slides. We presented it to our calendar committee to develop the draft calendars that Jen will be speaking about later. But in that calendar committee meeting, we had, we had 3 district parents, the Region 5 PTA representative, 2 school-level district administrators, 2 district-level administrators, 1 school counselor, 1 secretary, and 3 representatives from GEA and teachers.
What am I considered on there?
We counted you as a parent on this one.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, the response rate by connection to Granite, we had just under 1,000 students take the survey, around 3,600 parents, 1,600 employees, and 669 people who were both a parent and an employee of the district. Here's our response rate by network. You can see that Olympus, Skyline, and Taylorsville led the way, with each one having over 1,000 respondents. The rest of the networks averaged between 600 and 700. And the other at the bottom, that's primarily district employees who don't necessarily represent any particular network. So one of the first questions we asked in the survey was if people prefer that type of calendar that has longer breaks during the school year, which would mean they would have a shorter summer vacation, versus a schedule that would have shorter breaks during the school year, which would mean a longer summer break. You'll see that it was about 4,200 to 2,800 in favor of having shorter breaks during the school year and a longer summer. This slide is the same question, it's just broken down by our different respondent groups. So you'll see that in each of the 4 types of respondents we had, they all preferred that shorter breaks during the school year versus a longer summer break. In the last few years, we've also been asking folks if they prefer ending second term before winter break. You'll see that shows about 60% of respondents were in favor of that. And I didn't include a slide that breaks it down by respondent group, but it was the same as the previous question. Every group of respondents prefers, when possible, ending that second term before winter break. So we then asked respondents to weigh these 6 options from 1 to 6, 6 being their most favored, 1 being their least favored. So you'll see that the longer winter break was the top ranked choice based on that. And then for second place, we had a tie between starting later into August or ending earlier around Memorial Day. And then the longer spring break, 3-day Thanksgiving, and longer fall recess were the bottom 3 there. And here is the same information just broken down by the different respondent groups. So that the longer winter break, the blue, the purple, and the green there, the students, employees, and the parents/employees, they all preferred the longer winter break as their top choice, and parents preferred that later start as their top choice.
I just want to point out that the students, their top choice was long winter break, followed by end earlier, and followed by long spring break. Start later was not their priority.
Interesting. All right. Now this is a chart that's been shown every year. It's kind of our historic weighted average. So you'll see that the longer winter break for the last 5 years has always been the top choice. The darker orange there is the second ranked, and this year, as noted, we have a tie there. And then the longer spring break was the third place there. And the year at the top represents the year the survey was administered. So 2025 was this year. And I'll turn it over to Jen now to talk about our draft calendar options.
Can I just interject? Can you go back to the slide? This is the funny part of this is the hard part of the calendar, is people want to, really what they're saying is they want to start after Labor Day, end before Memorial Day, they want a 2-week winter break, they want a week-long spring break, plus all those other breaks. And so I think that's what we're up against here, is one of those, a few of those, you just can't put in the same bucket.
And I want to point out too that this has fallen off of this chart, but we did take fall recess away one year, and that became the following year the #1 thing that they wanted. And so it's never a priority until it goes away, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we need. And I will say though, I'm just going to offer this, that the 3-day Thanksgiving, I don't think we're ever going to take away 3-day Thanksgiving, and I think we need to just take it off the survey, because unless we're really going to entertain taking away a 3-day Thanksgiving and making it 2-day, or making it a 2-day, it needs to just be off. So, just my personal opinion. Thanks.
I felt like we added to this chart the priority of ending the semester before Christmas. Am I dreaming that?
We added it as an extra question. We didn't add it to the weighted average, but maybe that needs to be added next year to the weighted average.
I think I would love to see that up there because I think that is one of the questions that's driving the calendar. And so I think it ought to be looked at in comparison with these other priorities.
And especially if that is a bigger priority than starting later in August, we need to weigh that.
Agreed.
Okay, so the calendaring committee got together and looked over, and these are the two options that the committee came up with. So we will look at option A first. And option A, so teachers would return, this is a later start. So teachers would return on Monday, August 16th, and students would return on August 23rd. School would end because of the later start on June 2nd, but that is the same week of Memorial Day, so not too late. There would be a fall break, October 14th and 15th, and winter break is a good long winter break, a couple weeks. Then the semester, because of the later start, would end, semester 1 would end January 21st, so not before the break. And then spring break would be short with April 6th and 7th, and then you can see that the number of days per term, and they're all pretty similar. So that was option A. Option B, we still did a little bit of a later start, but not as late as option A. Teachers returning August 9th, school beginning on August 16th, which is a Monday as well. School would end before Memorial Day. It's actually the Thursday before Memorial Day. Fall break, the same amount of days, but on different days. So October 21st and 22nd. Winter break, this one is a little bit shorter. It is 8 days for students and 2 full weekends though. But with this plan, semester 1 would end on December 22nd, so before winter break. And then spring break is a week long. Then you can see the number of days per quarter and semester-wise. There, with option B, semester 1 has 85 days and semester 2 has 94. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So.
And I was going to say, I don't know if you were going to explain this, but we grappled with that, just so you know, trying to figure out where we could take some days from the second semester and put it to the first semester, and we just could not come up with a good solution in calendar B, just so you know. We did look at it, and so we have to figure that out if that's the one that we're going to go with.
Dr. Howe, could you remind me, it seems like as we've been tracking F grades, our biggest challenge has always been second semester historically. Is that accurate?
Our biggest challenge on failure rate actually happens second quarter.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I meant second quarter. I
second
apologize.
quarter. It did do a significant improvement the year that we did line up the semesters, and some of that we hypothesized because otherwise you end up with 3 little breaks right leading up to the end of the quarter, and it's just really hard to get kids to believe, hey, you only have 12 days left in this quarter because it feels like a month and a half away.
Interesting.
All right, that's all the slides we had. We have the calendars up here on these slides if you'd like us to put them up on the screen, but other than that, we're just ready for questions.
Certainly feel free to ask your questions. Just to let you know, our next step would be to administer a community survey with these potential options. In the past, the board has altered these options before they go out. Sometimes they've left them the same. It's entirely up to you. The next step is just simply to go get additional feedback. We don't call it voting. We really want people to tell us what they like and what they dislike about both calendars, and then tell us what their preference would be. So with that, we can turn it over to your questions.
I have a question. I feel like in the past, and even this year, we've approved calendars, or had a calendar that's approved that has had 2 weeks winter break, it's had a full week spring break, it's had the 2 days plus another day off for the kids for fall break. Neither of these seem to accomplish that, and I'm trying to understand why, like what's changed. In calendar A, we're still not ending by Memorial Day, it still goes into June, so where have we lost days somewhere? Like, well, what's the difference this time around?
Yeah, I think with calendar A, we really wanted to implement that community feedback to start really, really late. At least the 3 years I've been with Granite, this is by far the latest we would start, August 23rd. So we lost, I think it's usually been the second Wednesday of August. The last couple of years it's been the start date. So we're pushing it back almost, basically 6 days. But in order to do that and still end the week of Memorial Day, that Friday, June 2nd, we had to sacrifice those 3 days of spring break. So that goes in line with what we interpreted the data as saying, shorter breaks during the school year and the starting later. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think it does. So we're saying because in calendar A we start later and in calendar B we end sooner, and those 2 reasons on either end are affecting the breaks. Thank you.
My question is, both of these start school days are a Monday, is that correct? Because normally I've heard a lot of feedback that a lot of teachers like starting Tuesday or Wednesday because it's a shorter week, they can do, so I'm just wondering why you guys, what was the committee's decision on starting on a Monday, both options?
I think in that calendar committee meeting, we did look at that, but we just couldn't make the numbers work in a way that wouldn't cause perhaps more of an imbalance between the semesters, especially with option B.
That was really a key part of it, is that just the way that the breaks are this year, this calendar year, and how just where the semesters were and everything, it was really hard to get that. If we took those 2 days away from the beginning of the year, where did we put them? We had no place to put them unless we shortened the winter break, and then they started looking like the same calendar. So we're like, okay, if we want 2 different calendars, we kind of have to leave those 2 days there. We can't, because the only other option would be to put it at the end of the year, which then would make semester 2 even bigger than it already is. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying the winter break kind of outruled the starting on a Wednesday for one of the calendar options, because then that made that winter break. So I'm looking at A. It made that winter break start like on the 22nd, like the other calendar. So you're saying it was too similar of a winter break?
Too similar in that way, and either that or we took away fall break, which, I mean, I guess it's always an option.
Yeah.
It's the lowest on the priority list.
Because I think I would prefer, just to start a Wednesday. So I'm looking at if calendar A started the 18th and then took off that Monday, Tuesday for, Christmas, winter break, that whole week, that's a long week anyway. So students are really leaving the 17th as early day on December, and then that's a long winter break, which I think is the priority, so I get that. But anyway, I don't know if that will come out where they don't have the option to start on a Wednesday or Tuesdays.
I think that you've indicated what the broader challenges we do when we get to this stage in the process, want to provide the community with 2 distinct calendar options. So sometimes when you're trying to get a calendar to be everything to everyone, then they look too much alike, and then we're really not getting good feedback and getting a distinct option for our families to provide feedback on.
I was gonna say, that's one thing that really stood out to me as I looked these are 2 different options, which I appreciate, because we've had some that are just a day or 2 here, and then you get a 48-52 vote, which is, it's hard, because then that half the people out there are going to hate you for whatever calendar you vote for, and so it gets a little tricky. So one thing I do appreciate is there are some stark differences in this, and I think it gives the community parents, teachers, our faculties, students. I think it gives them a little bit, kind of as they sift through the different options, what are they going to value more? And it makes them think, and then they can put their thoughts into those survey responses, and then we'll take it from there. But I do appreciate, thanks Calendaring Committee. I know this is not a fun topic, but thanks for your work on this, and I do appreciate that they're very different.
Right, I think to that end, just remind the board, once we get through that survey work at the first part of January, the board gets to come back and finalize the calendar. And at that point in time, you can take all consideration of the feedback that we've received and alter this in any way that you seem and deem appropriate.
Thank you. Julie, did you have something?
Yeah, so you're telling me that every year I've had that Wednesday before Thanksgiving off? Because I looked at that and was like, why are we doing that off all of a sudden?
No, we haven't.
I've gotten
because
it every year.
No, because when I worked at Churchill, we did not. I worked that day.
So it feels like
For a while.
But we have for the last 10 years.
We've had that
Kids in
most of the
school
time
those
when I'm on the
whole
board.
10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been quite a while.
I was just surprised to hear you talk about it as if that's a default. We're never getting rid of that.
I don't
Why
know.
do you feel that way?
I don't know that any other district does not give that Wednesday off.
Oh, really?
I could be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure every district has that Wednesday off.
I think
and
I
it's
just
hard. I will tell you, as somebody who worked that day and had the
That
latest
Wednesday.
schedule because I was the junior high teacher, it was hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Because I just feel like if there is a priority in our community and with our teachers to finish the semester at Christmas, that's just a great day to help cushion our first semester. I see what you're saying. I don't know that I want to teach that day either, but I'm just saying that
It becomes very difficult too when you only have half your class show up.
But
Thank you, math teachers, by the way, for giving a math test on that Tuesday.
But if I give Wednesday off, then guess what? Monday and Tuesday, it's like a wash. It feels like nobody shows up anyway. Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's a 3-day week. But a 2-day week is like, I just see, I'm talking about my feeling as a teacher and how I would respond in a moment of weakness, which I never did have.
I will tell you, I looked, because I went to help that little kindergarten class that week, and she only had half of her kids there, and I was dreading going to school because I'm like, we have a quick turnaround for our concert. I've got to get stuff done. And almost all of my kids were there that Monday and Tuesday, and I will tell you, it was because the math teacher scheduled a math test. So I'm going to talk to them and say, you need to do this every single year, please, because it was very effective in getting kids to school. And I think Michelle said the math department at Cypress did the same thing. So I think there are ways to get kids there and for them to, but when you have that Wednesday, I know there were some that were like, we're leaving. It's a travel day for a lot of kids. And so Wednesday, I think, would be a wash. But Monday and Tuesday, I think, are still okay. But that's just my personal.
Do we add math test on that Tuesday on the calendar?
I think so.
On the calendar.
Put it on.
I also was looking at calendar B, and the first thing that I noticed was this disparity between second term and first term. And of course, I also saw the semester disparity, but I thought I couldn't see a way to fix the semester disparity, but between the second and first term, it looked like you could possibly just move end of term from the 20th to the 13th and have fall break the 14th and 15th, and then the professional development or whatever day that is on the 18th, and then start term 2 on the 19th. So I'm just wondering if the calendaring committee looked at that, because that would balance out those 2 terms.
I think we did, and just wanted 2 very different options, because that's the same option that's similar to fall break on option A.
Oh, it gives the fall break lands on the same weekend.
And honestly, quarters, maybe I'm wrong, you teachers can tell me, but quarters don't matter quite as much as a semester class is the
I
where
agree
it's
with
really
that.
hard. The quarter break, and the quarters this year, the first quarter this year was only 9 weeks long, and it felt really, really fast. So moving that quarter up, to me, I would prefer not to, because the first day or two, you are doing procedure with your kids anyway.
You're not even doing instruction, that's true.
But, I mean, it was something that we definitely could, especially if that's feedback from the community.
Well, I think it will be interesting to, I think I would support sending this calendar out. And Chris had some really great thoughts as well about the other calendar. And then the goal is to get feedback. And if there are ways to incorporate some of that feedback into the final calendar, then we could do that. Yeah, but I like the idea. I'm with you. 2 different calendars is really important.
In the past, we've had an option where before the semester break became more of an overriding popular notion, I do feel like we've had an option where the semester ends in January. We certainly could adjust that and make these calendars even more distinct. That being said, I think we would be able to predict how people would vote. Our parents would love that because we could start later, and our teachers would, and our students would not like that. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not saying I know how people feel about this, but I've done this calendaring committee job for a decade, and I have a pretty good sense of, I have to work the day before Thanksgiving either way, so it doesn't matter to me, I guess is my point.
I can verify. He does. So are you guys okay with both of these calendar options being sent out? I do have a question, Luke. On this survey, was there comment, the ability for people to comment on it?
Yes. And I added this today so you didn't get it beforehand. I did add this summary of what those comments were. And later this week, I will go through and redact any personal names or addresses from those comments, and we'll publish that on our board report so that everyone can review those. But here's just a quick summary. I did use ChatGPT for this, but it is the high-level overview of what those free response comments were.
So again, to be clear, we'll publish the full comments with names redacted when we publish this full presentation for the board report.
By the end of the week.
Thank you.
I like that in other and miscellaneous, we have off-topic remarks. I'm interested to see what those are. Okay, yeah, just as we get this next survey, I know those comments have been valuable in the past, at least for me to see, so I think we'd appreciate those as you guys get those next surveys. All right, this is an action item, so we need an action to approve these, to send them out as a survey to our constituents, what are they called? Stakeholders.
Stakeholders.
Thank you.
I move that we approve calendar A and calendar B to be distributed to our stakeholders and constituents for their feedback.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve calendars A and B to send out for feedback to our constituents and stakeholders. Are there any further comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Good job, you guys.
Thank you.
The next time won't be as easy.
It'll be worse.
All right, we're going to invite Mr. Doug Larson up. He has several first readings for us and a second reading to approve.
Hi, board members. Thank you for having me. You want to start with first readings or second readings? Sorry.
First readings.
Yeah, first readings. We have 3 first readings to go over tonight. The first one is students with disabilities. It's Article 10F6. I think your agenda said special education, but the policy is actually entitled students with disabilities. This policy was created kind of out of whole cloth for the purpose of providing an overall framework for our special education programming here in Granite School District. We've had a special education handbook for years, and that's been presented to you by special education directors in the past. But we felt like it was important to have a policy that laid out basics of our special education program and incorporated that handbook into board policy. And so that's why we created this, this policy. I wanted to mention that in law and policy, it was requested that we add some definitions to the policy to make it more clear. We've done so. If you have any questions about the policy, I'd be happy to respond. And I'll submit that to you.
Any questions?
Just real quick, there was another item we had talked about providing guardians that wasn't clear enough.
The guardian question, no, I thought we did resolve that in law and policy. We talked about, are you talking about the circumstance where we have individuals that have
we were to provide a guardian or provide somebody to make decisions on their behalf. And just the way that it was written at the time seemed like we could just do that whenever we wanted.
Oh, I do recall that conversation, yes.
Definition of parent, number 4, B4.
I would have to pull up my notes, but I think it was somewhere
So
else.
it says now means a biological or adoptive parent, legal guardian, person acting as a parent, or surrogate parent appointed. I think it's surrogate parent that you were concerned about. Appointed in accordance, and so we had added in accordance with state and federal law as the qualifier there. Previously it just said surrogate parent appointed.
It's also under I. So I. Parent of students eligible under, no, just kidding. Surrogate parent shall be appointed as required by law, and the district shall provide training and support for surrogate parents in accordance with state rules. Does that adequately address it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, can I entertain a motion?
I move that we accept as a first reading Article 10F6, students with disabilities.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Article 10F6, students with disabilities, as a first reading. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bless you, Connie. All right.
Excellent. This next policy is Article 3B12. This is the Student Code of Conduct policy. This is a policy.
Wait, it's
I'm
8B.
sorry. 8B12. I misread that. This is a policy that we've brought to the board a few times as we've kind of updated it over the years. This particular policy, we added some definitions, principally around Utah Administrative Code R277, 608, and 609. There were some new administrative rules that came out governing seclusion and restraint in particular, and use of force. Anytime that we use seclusion and restraint, it has always been required under special education law that we engage in what's called an emergency safety intervention that's documented and then reviewed. We've done that for regular education for many years because it was part of what's called the LRBI manual, or the Least Restrictive Behavior Interventions Manual. Now that became codified in R277, 608, and 609, we updated our policy to reflect that. So this is a practice that we've been engaging in for several years, but it's now included as a requirement in our policy. If you look at subsection D, that outlines the emergency safety interventions process there. We also added some additional language related to some concerns that were raised during law and policy, particularly with respect to students who are being questioned as part of an investigation, and students who receive discipline, including suspension, and whether or not we were contacting parents sufficiently. And so we've added some requirements along those lines as well. So with that, I'll submit the policy to you and answer any questions that you might have.
I'll just add real quick that I did ask a question by email, so for Nicole and Julie's benefit. That was addressed, and I think I just missed it because it's not in red, but the language that I was looking for is in F5. So.
Yeah, F5, yeah, specifically.
Will you accept a motion?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I just want to make sure you're right, it's not in red.
I move that we approve 8B12 Student Code of Conduct and Discipline of Students 2025.
It's the first reading.
For our first reading.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Article 8B12 Student Code of Conduct and Discipline of Students 2025 as a first reading. Is there any further comments on this? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Excellent. Our next policy on first reading, our last policy, is Article 10A6. This might require some explanation. We wrote this policy a few years ago, relying on a reading of the statute related to sensitive materials. In that new section, it exempts from sensitive materials analysis, specifically the content of a concurrent enrollment course. There is another portion of, or there's another section of the law that defines learning materials, and in that it exempts all three: AP classes, IB classes, and CE classes. And so our reading of the statute at the time was that that sensitive materials should also exempt all three. However, and there was some reason for that. There was discussion about this in some of the committee hearings and that sort of thing, and we felt like that was a reasonable reading of the statute. However, we have received additional information from the state, in particular the AGs, the assistant AGs that work for USBE. They have indicated to us that their reading of the statute is more conservative. That there was that the legislature intentionally left AP and IB out of the exemptions for sensitive materials, and therefore the school districts ought to do the same. I believe and I recommend to you that we take that approach, as it is a more conservative approach, and Granite School District is an outlier with respect to our past reading of the statute with a couple of other school districts. But with that, I would recommend that we modify the policy in that way. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer, and I'll submit that to you.
Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to go on record that.
Do you want to wait till we have a motion and then make a comment?
Yes, I would.
I'll make it. Here we go. Are we ready? I move that we approve Article 10A6, Learning Materials, as a first reading.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Article 10A6, Learning Materials as a first reading. All right, now comments.
Thank
Julie,
you.
go ahead.
I fundamentally disagree with this change. I feel like the law is vague, and we have two laws that disagree with one another. I also do not think that we ought to be putting advanced placement and IB programs under the same. I think that those are college level classes, and we should treat them as such. And I personally, since I was very invested in this discussion, did not feel that this was the intention of those discussions. I want to go on record as that I do not think this was the intention. But it does sound at this point that USBE is taking a position that this is the intent, and that as such, if we do not take these words out, that we put our teachers at risk for some sort of criminal charges. And that is the only reason that I'm going to vote for this, is because I would want to protect our teachers, even though I am protecting my teachers from a law that I think is ridiculous. So I just want to go on record as saying that I disagree with the law, but I prioritize taking care of our teachers more.
Thanks, Julie. Any other comments?
I guess I just have a question. Does anybody know, do any of you know, is there any effort to correct this conflict ongoing, or what's the status of that?
I've actually been in touch with and had some questions posed to me by Representative Moss, and she is actually running a bill. I don't think there's any way we can predict how successful that will be, and so I do still recommend that we move ahead with this change. However, if there is a change to the law, I would be right back here again, and we would probably do a fix to the policy once again. But I think it's worth it.
And then Julie, just to follow up on your comment about USBE's position, is that a public position or is that something you came to understand from reaching out to a representative, or where does that understanding come from?
That understanding is coming from Mr. Doug Larson, and also from an understanding that we are one of 2 school districts that is still allowing this policy in the state.
And I will mention that it was conversations among legal representatives of the districts and the assistant AGs at USBE, where this essentially, this interpretation of the law was discussed, and it was represented to us that that is the intent, or excuse me, that is the position of USBE at the time.
Thank you for
Also,
clarifying.
actually, I misspoke. We're one of 2 along the Wasatch Front who still have this. I don't know about the rest of the state.
There is draft legislation to address this from Representative Moss. We've had opportunity to provide feedback on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further comment, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all for the first readings. The second reading that we have tonight is Article 5C9, Vehicle Use Standards. We have some fairly benign provisions that we fixed in this policy. While it was open, we also went about discussing another fix that I'll describe in just a moment. But let me just describe the first two changes to the policy. The first is that we have added GPS tracking mechanisms in our vehicles. As you can imagine, that's good practice for the district, and also we've asked, and we now require that all individuals who use district facilities, or excuse me, use district vehicles, take and pass the annual defensive driving course. That is actually a requirement by risk management as well. So those are the 2 kind of fairly obvious updates that we made to the policy. We also have discussed the idea of broadening, if you'll look at the policy, section A6, to allow for more travel, use of district vehicles for commuting with respect to certain individuals who travel to the work site. We have had a fair amount of discussion on that subject in law and policy. At this time, I would make a recommendation that we actually table that provision of this policy and do some additional research and some additional study before we make a decision. That shouldn't keep us from being able to pass the other provisions that I think are needed in this policy. But by doing so with that amendment, I think that we could put this policy in place and then continue to do some additional study on the subject of A6. So that would be my recommendation coming out of law and policy. And on those bases, I would submit it to you and answer any questions that you might have.
So you're saying your suggestion is to go ahead and pass this as a second reading with the exception of 6 completely, or with just the exception to the changes in 6?
Just the changes to 6, that's correct. I left the red line underlining in the policy so that you would be able to see the direction in which we were headed, but I would, again, recommend that we halt moving in that direction, at least for the time being, until some additional study could be made. So it would just, the amendment would just be that we would not go ahead with the changes to paragraph 6, but we would go ahead with the changes to the other paragraphs. And again, that's just my recommendation coming from Law and Policy Board. You can do what you'd like with your policy.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Article 5C9, Vehicle Use Standards, as a second and final reading with the exception of the changes made to section A6.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Article 5C9, Vehicle Use Standards, as a second and final reading with the exception of the changes made to A6. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thanks, board members.
Okay, we're going to turn the time over to Superintendent.
It's the end of our musical season. I did have a chance to go visit a few of our musicals, including a nice visit with Representative Moss and Board Member Jackson to Hadestown. I don't know if I understood it, but the singing was excellent and the production values were amazing, and an enjoyable time was had by all. The costumes were fantastic. So great job to all of our schools and their efforts, and Cypress's production will be in the next few weeks, so look forward to that as well.
All right. Let's go ahead and do board reports. Julie?
I got nothing.
Okay. Kim?
I too have nothing.
All right.
Okay, so JLC meets next on the 11th, Thursday the 11th, from 10 a.m. to 1. If you want to go, it's out at the USBA offices. The annual conference again is January 8th through the 10th. And Day on the Hill is January 30th. And then there will be another, doesn't tell me when, they're going to do a public education day sometime in January too, and I will get that to you around the 20th or something. I'll have something there, but that's from USBA.
Chris?
Okay, Budget and Finance Committee, we met today. Chris Lewis presented to us. Normally we get the thick, you guys remember every year, the annual financial report for the end of the year. It is not printed right now with the government shutdown. They didn't have the numbers until the last second, basically. So they got that inputted and we have it. It's on the district website. It's just, we don't have a printed copy yet, which is fine. So if you go on the, Todd, remind me how we get to it. It's the...
If you go onto the main page of the district, then go under district departments, under accounting, you'll see on the blue ribbon financial statements. You can find it there.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing that you didn't know that already, Chris.
I know. I just learned it today. So if you want to go and look at that, it's that we'll be getting a copy in January sometime. But if you want to go look at that, it kind of has a good comprehensive look at our budget from last year. And Chris gave us a couple pointers. If you want to just read like the quick version, it's in the front. So you could just read the first couple pages.
It's called the Management Discussion and Analysis.
Well, thank you, Clark.
MD&A.
I don't know the proper
I know, so I shouldn't keep
but
butting in,
wow,
Chris.
it's
I
fine.
can't help myself.
You, isn't it?
Right? Come on, Clark. No, thank you. That's perfect. That's what it is. So if you want to just read just that page, you can kind of see where we're at until you get your big, thick book that you can read all during January when it's cold outside. So that's it.
So we can cuddle up.
Oh, and Whittier, one of my schools, invited all of you to come read with students next week. It's really fun if you haven't done it. I encourage you to do that. Also, did you notice on the Heart Vixen card they invited us to, I wrote it down, winter holiday across the world, since Heart Vixen is kind of all of our schools. It's December 17th at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Okay. Karen?
Benefits Committee hasn't met. They meet, I believe, Monday, because it was postponed from November. But Julie, you didn't speak of the Evaluation Committee, so I just want to say Evaluation Committee met. We sent out a board evaluation to evaluate our superintendent. That discussion was held in our executive session at 6 o'clock today. Obviously, that's a closed session, so we can't discuss that. But I want to just be clear that as a board, we only hire two employees. So we only oversee 2 employees, and then they oversee everybody else. And that would be Todd, our BA, and he had his review a while ago. And then, of course, our superintendent is the other one. And we just evaluated him, and we fill it out individually as individual board members, and then we crunch those numbers and the metrics, and then we go over those results with him, which was done earlier today. And we just, I want to mention this for 2 reasons. Number one is, first and foremost, we appreciate Ben and his absolute commitment to this district. And it's very evident in the results is that he believes that every student can learn, and he is trying his darndest to make sure that every single faculty, staff member, everybody also believes that every child can learn. And we're going to work towards that and work towards, improving student outcomes. And so that's very evident. The second reason I want to mention it is to make sure that people know that we hold our superintendent and our BA accountable. And we make goals with them, and we want to see results. And part of that is obviously the data that comes in. Also, part of that is how they're managing their teams. And so we had some great discussions, good feedback session. So I just wanted to mention that happens so people realize the accountability is also right at the top.
Thanks, Karen. Clark?
I would just add that the audit committee continues to meet regularly, and in connection with the publication of our annual report, our annual audit report, an audit letter from our external auditors will also be the subject of some of our agenda items in our January meeting. So we have that to look forward to as well after you all have read the management discussion and analysis in the annual report.
Which we will.
That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you. It's been a great night.
I did not, you guys didn't give an update of the legislative advocacy discussion. I thought it was canceled because.
Wow, I missed all my actual.
So I'm not sure what that, I don't know what happened there. You'll have to ask Julie after. I'm not giving her the microphone back. The last one is the 8-hour workday task force. We met, we are meeting every Monday, just so you know, and we met this week for the first focus group meetings. We had one group of admin, and then we were supposed to have 2 groups of teachers, but I think because of the Thanksgiving break, some of the teachers forgot, totally understandable. So we combined it into one, but we got some really good feedback, and I loved the discussions that we had. I saw teachers who didn't understand and know that we have employees who are on a 9-hour workday contract as opposed to a 7-hour contract. And so it's been fascinating to just see our employees kind of come together and go, oh, I didn't understand this, and I didn't understand how you did it. So we're looking forward to doing 2 more of those the next 2 weeks, and kind of getting their feedback and then going from there. I just want to be clear, we have not made any decisions. That is not the purpose of the task force. Ours is a fact-finding mission, and it is something that we're going to just take all of this information and put it together so that as we come to this, we can make some good decisions about where we need to go as a district. So we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop. If you want specifics as far as what I observed in there, it was a really good discussion, and I think Michelle was in the other room, and she said that was a really good discussion there too. She was with Patrick, so just some really good things coming out of this, I think, and I think it will be for our benefit. So that's all I have. So with no objection, we are at the end of our agenda, and so we will stand adjourned. What? You already did.
You did.